it would actually be over 13,000 kilometers, which is, you know, over what they actually recommend. So that's why I wouldn't trust your oil life meter. What is going on today, guys? My name's Alex. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to give this 2022 Ram 2500 Power Wagon her first oil change. I got just over 5,000 kilometers on her. Figured it's a good time to put some new oil in her, and might as well take you guys along for the ride, give you guys some tips and some tricks on changing oil on your HEMIs. Believe it or not, I had something a little more interesting for you guys planned this weekend, but I was under the weather and just not feeling well. Now, before we get our hands full of oil, I want to talk about something important with these Ram trucks, and it is the oil life gauge. Now, personally, I don't follow it. I think it pushes the oil change intervals too far. I know in my old Ram, if I followed it, I would have been changing my oil every 14 to 15,000 kilometers, which I think is just a little bit crazy. I run synthetic oil. But if you were to run conventional oil and try and run it for, you know, even over 10,000 K, you're really trying to push your luck there. And so that's why I just wouldn't follow it. Now, you guys can make your own decisions, but I would recommend that everyone change their oil around every 5,000 miles. That's a good number, and it'll make sure that your oil is going to be nice and clean always. Now, for this truck specifically, I just checked the oil life percentage, and it said I had 61% oil life left after 5,000 kilometers of driving. So I actually got the manual out, and you guys probably can't see, but basically it says, under no circumstance should oil change exceed 8,000 miles or 13,000 kilometers, 12 months or 350 hours of runtime. Now, if we did a little bit of math, so I basically have 5,100 kilometers on it, and that says that took up 39% of its oil life. So if you do the math on that, and I ran this out for the full 100% of the oil life, it would actually be over 13,000 kilometers, which is, you know, over what they actually recommend. So that's why I wouldn't trust your oil life meter. And, you know, even if you did go right to 13,000 kilometers, it's just way too long. I wouldn't do it. The maximum I would run is probably 10,000 K with synthetic oil. That's the maximum I'd probably do. Now, these HEMI engines, like most modern engines, have hydraulic lifters, and the hydraulic fluid that is used as engine oil. These HEMIs have had issues with their lifters. So the last thing you want to do is kind of mess with the oil getting supplied to those hydraulic lifters. And the best thing you can do is make sure that your oil is always nice and clean. And that is why I would really not recommend following the oil life percentage gauge, because I think it just runs that oil too long. There's only so many things you guys can do to protect your engine, and making sure that you're putting good quality oil in there, as well as changing your oil on a regular basis, is probably the #1 thing you guys can do to protect your engines. Anyways, let's get into changing the oil. I'm gonna do it on the floor here just because I figure most of you guys that do it at home, or you DIY guys, are probably gonna do it on your driveway and don't have either a hoist or a pit that's over there. So I'm gonna do it on the ground for you guys, show you how I would do it, and hopefully helps you guys out. So the first thing you're gonna need is a 13 mil socket or wrench. Now, I believe the oil capacity is the same as the 5.7 HEMI. I think it's like 6.5 liters or 6.4 liters or something like that. Just keep that in mind when you're draining the oil. Make sure you have a big enough bin, because you don't want to be spilling this on your driveway and have your wives really upset. The beauty of the Power Wagon is it's so freaking tall, and you can already see the oil drain right there. So kick that under there, watch the grease. All right, so we're under the truck here. The drain plug is the nut staring us in the eye there. You wanna loosen that off. Like I said, it's a 13 mil, and get your drain bucket ready, because she's gonna come pouring out. Hi-ya! Well, hopefully don't get hit in the face. Ooh, that was actually kind of loose. I'm sure it's torqued to probably something really small. See how quick I am here. Oh yeah, got her. Doesn't smell burnt, which is a good sign. Yeah, she's a little dark. She's a little dark, but that's kind of what I expected. You're breaking in an engine, it's not going to be perfectly clean oil coming out, which is why you want to change your oil probably sooner than later when you're breaking in an engine. Now, as we let that oil drain, I will recommend that you drain the oil when it's warm. You know, get out, drive the truck for a little bit, come back, let it rest for a couple minutes, and then drain that oil. When the oil is hot, it's more viscous, you're more likely to get more crap out of the oil. You know, you're never gonna drain 100% of the oil, but if the oil is warm and more viscous, odds are you're gonna drain more of that dirty oil, which is always good. All right, now we get to go deal with the oil filter. It's in not the best spot, not the worst, but not the best. It's kind of right over here at the bottom of the engine, just behind the sway bar disconnect actuator there. Let me show you. Oh, yes! Turn it on. Okay, so that is it right up there. It's attached to the oil cooler right there. This whole, I don't know what you want to call this, cross member kind of thing, it's completely in the way, as is the sway bar disconnect actuator. But that's where she is, right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now I get to wrestle with this. Let's see how tight we put this bitch on. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, as they say. Ooh, that is on there pretty good. Oh, got it. So I don't know who assembled this down in Mexico, but I can say firsthand that oil filter is on there way too tight. You should always be able to spin it off by hand. There's no need for an oil filter to be absolutely cranked on. Time for the jaws of life. See if we can pry her off. Who knows if we can even fit these up here. They might fit. Jesus, that was freaking tight. I haven't seen a filter that tight in a long time. Oh my god. Oh, they even have a special little drain plug there. Look at that. So it's not all bad news, boys and girls. They have a special little drain right there for your oil. Well, never mind about that special drain hole, because basically got it everywhere, all over the driveway. So before you put your new oil filter on, I'm sure many of you guys know, you want to put a little bit of oil on the sealing O-ring here. It just makes sure that you don't run into the same problem I just ran into, where it's really tight to take off, because this rubber, if it's not lubricated, can kind of seize to the housing, and you're going to be fighting for your life to try and get this thing off. Another good thing just to get in the habit of is also reaching up into where the oil filter actually threads onto, and making sure those threads are not loose. And just be careful, sometimes they're sharp, because I know sometimes those threads can get loose, and that is not good. Another thing is just to reach up with your finger and make sure that the actual housing sealing surface is nice and smooth and clean. That way you're not gonna have any leaks, and mine is all good. So next we got to put the oil drain plug back in its home. Pretty simple. Thread her in. Now, like the oil filter, this thing does not need to be super tight. Only needs to be snugged up. I'm sure there's a spec on how tight this needs to be. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments, but in general it just needs to be nice and snug. Just like that, and you should be fine to go. Now, an absolute critical thing to remember about these 6.4 Hemis versus the 5.7s is the oil grade. So these 6.4s take 0W40 and the 5.7s take 5W20. You don't really want to mess that up like I did. As you can see, we got 5W20 here, and so I'm in a little bit of a pickle. I've dropped the oil already. So I got the wife going to Canadian Tire. She's gonna get me the right oil. Even I can still make rookie mistakes. I swore I saw that the oil for the 6.4s was the same as the Hemis, but I didn't check, and that is my mistake. So the wife has come in clutch. She brought the right oil, so I'm a dummy. So we'll fill her up, get her running, and finish this oil change. Look, boys, she even brought me lunch. What a keeper. All right, now I always like to put the actual oil cap right in the hood latch, because if you forget to put your oil cap on, the hood won't close. So just a little tip. Because we're all human, as you guys saw today. She'll take one full jug, I believe this is, yeah, 5 quarts, just about 5 liters. So take one of these bad girls, and then probably another liter or so of oil. Now, I'm not even sure the spec of how much oil this takes. However, I think it's like 6.5 liters or something. I wouldn't go by the spec. I'll show you what I do, just because you never really know how much oil you drain out of the engine, and you're never gonna get all the oil out of the engine. So you just kind of have to play it by feel sometimes. Okay, so we will check how much oil we currently have. Now, if you're a little high right now, it doesn't necessarily matter, because we still have to fill the oil filter, which takes a little bit of oil to do. So as you guys can hopefully see, we're just in between those 2 dots, which is fine. If we do start up the engine, we'll be a little bit below that probably, but we are safe to start the engine here. All right, so the way I do it, I fill her up till the oil level is adequate. Then I'll fire the engine up for probably 10 to 15 seconds. That'll completely fill the oil filter. I'll let the engine sit for a couple minutes, because when you fire up the engine, all that oil is gonna go up into the engine. And if you take a reading right away, you're probably gonna get a wrong oil reading. So make sure you just let the oil kind of settle back down to the pan, and you'll get a more accurate reading. Let her settle for a little bit, and we will check our oil level here. Always make sure the truck's on a flat surface. I've been burned by that before too, so don't worry, you won't be the first. Now you can see we were just between the dots before, and now we are just slightly below, so we got to probably add about 1 liter. Typically, most manufacturers from here to here is about 1 liter of oil, just give or take. So if we add 1 liter, we should be just about perfect. There you go. We're just below our top dot there, which is exactly where we want to be, nice and full. All right, guys, that sums up how to do your oil change on your 6.4 Hemi. It is always a good thing to run the engine for a little bit and just double check if there's any oil leaks. But other than that, hope you guys liked the video, maybe learned a thing or two. And if you did, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you like cool stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe. We'd love to have you guys on board. Anyways, enough of me. We'll see you in the next freaking video, guys.